reproductive rights are under assault in the United States. And what's worse, the rationale put forth by the Supreme Court to justify rolling back nearly 50 years of precedent, that there's no implicit right to privacy in the Constitution, lays the groundwork for a full court press on a host of other settled cases. Deep Listens is taking action, and we need your help. Of course, we want you to learn about the elected officials in your area and vote in every single election, but we'd like you to consider contributing to the national network of abortion funds as well. The NNAB is a clearinghouse of regional abortion and reproductive health organizations across the United States. Their goal is to remove financial and logistical barriers to abortion access, centering on those looking for assistance and organizing at the intersection of racial, economic, and reproductive justice. You can contribute to the NNAB directly at abortionfunds.org/donate. You can also use their site to locate an abortion fund in your area so you can keep your money local and aid your neighbors. Thank you, and now back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Hello, good people. Welcome to Off the Deep End, a Deep Listens podcast, where we plumb the depths of role-playing video games in depth. My name is Jeff Rude, the colossus of this operation. Joining us, as always, we have the ranger of the show. It is Braden Arbitrary Water, redacted. Hello, Braden.
Hello, Jeff. I am here from the future to tell you, yes, video games, they're very hot.
Never out of style.
That's right.
Also joining us, we have the storm of the show. It's Chris, our zombie pie redacted. I think that's his name. Hello, Chris. I've only been talking to you for like years and just about forgot your name.
I'm scared for different reasons because there's two people here that would try to convince me to play Burning Rangers.
Who was the other one, though? It's a mystery. Don't worry, because we're going to intro them right now so they can respond. Joining us for this very special episode of Off the Deep End, we have our very own interceptor. It is Borgmaster. The Borgmaster, who you may know from GiantBomb.com on their GiantBomb.com/forum specifically.
Or on Twitch.tv/fifthgengaming.
There you go.
Yeah, that's probably a better handle.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your Anthem handle if they wanted to find you on Anthem, right?
Yeah, everyone share our hot EA Origin tag.
Mine is Zombie Pie. Braden is, I believe, Arbitrary Water. Jeff Rudd is Jeff Rudd.
Oh, yeah, there you
go. And then what about you, Borg?
It's from middle school.
Noob.
The Noob 1015.
1015.
Yeah.
Isn't that Cure song?
Hey,
Three Imaginary Boys?
Listen, sometimes you make your dumb internet name when you create your Xbox Live account in 2007.
2006.
A very funny combination of words that you're like, this doesn't mean anything. Arbitrary and water, that doesn't mean a thing. That's a funny thing. And now you're a 30-year-old adult man.
And you have to live with it.
People know me by this name, and you feel shame, but at least you're not named after a combination of Tolkien and Miyamoto.
During the pandemic, I decided to change my avatar on Giant Bomb, and people lost their actual shit and then forced me into changing my avatar back. So we're getting older, but the internet has not forgotten us. We have a legacy, gentlemen. But you know what won't have a legacy? Anthem.
I got dropped in Jay Tholen, the guy who made Hypnospace Outlaw and Dropsy. I was talking with him at some point, and then, we walked away from that for a minute and then started talking again. He's like, sorry, I forgot which before and after science dude you were. And I was devastated, man. So yeah, I've thought about changing my thumbnail for a while because I can't be another Brian Eno guy. I just can't. It's cruel. Anthem is what we're talking about. Sorry, I derailed that because I was sitting there trying to think of a name.
Also cruel.
Yeah. In case you're wondering why we're bringing up ridiculous class names and also, I guess, cruelty, we're going to talk about Anthem. Anthem, the hit BioWare game. I'll do the full intro. Did you know Anthem is a game that was published by Electronic Arts and developed by their in-house studio BioWare, that famous Electronic Arts outfit. It was originally released on February 22nd, 2019, on everything that was bar the, I guess it would have been the
Nintendo
Wii U.
Switch.
No, it would have been the Switch. You're right. You're 100% right. Yeah.
Wii U, what is that?
The Wii U was
What is that?
barely a going concern in 2019. And it also did, I guess it's worth noting, it also did not come out on the Vita. And I'm very sorry to the Vita people who were still playing a Vita in 2019. I know you
I'm
were
still
there
mourning.
because I saw you on the train like twice.
You saw me? Wow.
Yeah, I probably had my Vita on the train then because it was a pretty good way to play Final Fantasy 1. Yeah, that Origins collection. Hey, if you'd like to be a part of pre-show discussions where we talk occasionally, and I want to really underscore this, very, very seldomly about PlayStation's Vita, among other things, you can head on over to the Deep Listens Patreon, which is patreon.com/deeplistens. Kicking in any dollar amount to that Patreon will get you access to a Discord where we all hang out and gently dunk on each other, and our ringmaster, whose name is Gino, will try to sell you on playing fantasy basketball. You don't have to do it. Don't give in to peer pressure. Live your own life. But if you want to, that could be fun. You can also send questions to us via electronic mail. For the time being, those can be sent to inquiries@deep.lol, the vanity URL that will never die, except for potentially very soon. And if you'd like to see the fruits of the labors of this show, you can audit our work. That's right. We believe in public domain, putting things up, a nice open research platform that's called Google Spreadsheets. And we even have a bit.ly link to it. It's bit.ly/OTDE rank. That is OTDE rank. You can see the whole silly list, which will, at the end of this episode, have Anthem on it. So, Anthem, friends, we did it. We hit a brick wall. I'm trying to remember what the inciting incident was now. I don't remember anymore.
It was BioWare letting go a fifth of their employees.
Oh,
Yeah, the massive
before
layoffs that
their big
impacted-
game came out.
They fired most of the people who worked on Dragon Age Inquisition and a lot of the people who had worked on characters and writing, and announced that they were focusing on gameplay development and were letting go a lot of writing and marketing people. They fired the lore Bible person from 2 and Inquisition, the author of Varric.
Yeah, so like I said, 20% BioWare's workforce gone. EA, about 6 months late to the, I guess, larger tech industry party of cut to profitability for the year because revenues are probably going to be down for a host of very fun reasons. So people are going to point to inflation. Some people are going to post-pandemic spending patterns changing. I ain't an economist, but what I can say is when the larger companies in the industry start cutting, all of the smaller nurse shark companies in that field tend to follow ship. So Facebook and Microsoft layoffs earlier this year. This just seems sort of right in track with keeping up with the Joneses there. But there's also some unique EA-ness to this. Weird company, weird portfolio now. It's been an odd year. This is the first year that they aren't going to be publishing a FIFA game with the word FIFA on it since like the early 90s, I think. And I don't know how, I think it is EAFC 24 has done or will do for them, but I have to imagine they just accidentally lose like a certain amount of people who just don't know what the product is called anymore. So I don't know, like in some sense, maybe this was just their way to cut around that. But the knock-on effect is, geez, maybe let's have another look at BioWare and what's been going on there in the last decade. It's weird that it turns out they've made 2 things of note, right? 2. Dragon Age Inquisition, which is nearly a decade old, and then this. Those are the ship commercial products.
Yep.
Oh, you know what? I'm skipping a third one. I'm totally skipping
you missed
Andromeda.
one.
Yeah.
I thought you were doing that for dramatic effect.
No.
Like, if we get 50 patrons.
Yeah, I'll acknowledge the other Mass Effect game. Right. So
We'll play
so
Mass Effect Andromeda.
So there were 3.
The Return of Jafar of Mass Effect games.
Jeez.
That's an insult to Return of Jafar.
The Lady and the Tramp 2. The one where... No, the one with Reba McEntire as an evil dog who sings is, of course, as we all know, Fox and the Hound 2.
Look, if you want to hear us...
Beauty and the Beast fight that haunted organ.
Let's rank the direct-to VHS Disney sequels in hell with Mike Minotti. In hell. No, we're going to talk about...
Chicken Little 2.
Disney people. Don't like them. I don't know if I like Anthem people either. To be honest, I don't know if I like BioWare people.
The people... Jeff, I was a BioWare people.
I think I might have been too. I really do. I really liked Mass Effect. I think I liked it in a pretty Homer way too.
If you asked
Mass
young
Effect,
Braden, what is your favorite video game company?
I mean, being a BioWare person was normal till like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate.
I mean, it was so normal that EA was like
Gate
rushing
2.
to make everything a BioWare game, and that insane E3 where they just renamed like 3 studios BioWare blank. Like,
and then they...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Command & Conquer Generals game.
Yes.
It's supposed to be BioWare San Francisco or something.
Just muddying the freaking waters.
Shattered Steel.
The most successful BioWare game in the last 10-year span by kind of every conceivable measure is Dragon Age Inquisition, a game which I have played to completion somewhat recently, and I'm just going to say, not their best work, and knowing that was as good as they would be for about a decade is really kind of nuts. This feels sort of like the bottle episode culmination of like so much weird industry trend chasing that it sort of naturally leads you to go, God, I can't believe EA compelled them to make this game. To which you dig around really not that deep and you realize, oh no, this was their baby. This was a game that BioWare executives were in fact very excited about. Some of the shape of this game is informed by ongoing, what would you call them, live game concerns that I doubt EA management didn't like, but there was a vision here for this thing that feels so fallow in some ways. I guess I don't really know where to begin.
I mean, do you just want to summarize the Shire article?
Yeah, I mean, so there's we don't have the privilege, when we pull up a Biomotor Unitron or a Ruins of Myth Draenor on this show. There's not, the equivalent of like a peer-reviewed white paper on a lot of those games, whereas with Anthem, there kind of is. So there's a Jason Schreier article from,
April of 2019.
And it's incredible. It's one of the reasons he went and now works for, I think, Bloomberg. He is the journalist laureate of the field for a reason. And it's an autopsy for a game that is basically 2 months old, which is really insane, but was kind of deserved. Braden, you're looking at this article right now, I believe.
Yes.
Would you like to just read it verbatim, but throw in a couple different words? And
it's pretty long.
Yeah,
it's long.
It's long.
Quite long.
It's exhaustive.
Let me just. They called it Project Dylan.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Casey Hudson, after finishing the Mass Effect trilogy, gets like a small team together, and they're like, "All right, let's start the next big thing. Let's create BioWare's next big IP. We're gonna call it Project Dylan because it's gonna be the Bob Dylan of video games." And you say, Casey Hudson, what does that mean? And apparently the answer was it was going to be something people would talk about for decades, much like the music of Bob Dylan.
Wasn't Dragon Age 4 also originally codenamed Joplin? Like that's just their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys go to any creative writing classes in your educational times?
Jeff?
Yes.
I'm lobbing a softball at Braden.
I went to a creative writing group. because a young woman I was interested in invited me, and it was a sci-fi fantasy creative writing group. And there's no way she's listening to this podcast, so I can say this. I was far more interested in her than I was in the quality of the writing people had there. A lot of let's call it very earnest proper nouns, world Bibles.
Glorpo Shido was a character.
Gloop Shido was there.
Isn't that a mechanism by which people join cults?
I mean, that's how
Creative
Scientology
writing?
was formed.
Just Nexium is just hanging out at your local creative writing group. Hey guys, check this out.
Or the part where you go to a place you would not otherwise because someone you're interested in invited you.
Yes, that part.
Okay. That is both how cults happen and also how human relationships happen.
So
I bring up the creative writing thing because my partner it functionally has a degree in it, and the best people she encountered across her academic career while she was studying creative writing were the guys, and it was all guys, who they would introduce themselves and they basically say, my goal is to write the next great American novel. Like that's the line.
Yeah.
I feel like calling your thing Project Dylan is the same energy. Like saying I want to be the next Bob Dylan is equally as preposterous. Like, that is just, I want to write the new Catcher in the Rye. It's a very pantsable thing to say. And look, bullying is not cool, but sometimes people gotta get pantsed. Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
The people in that creative writing group were trying to write the next, maybe not the next Catcher in the Rye, but maybe the next Mistborn.
Hell yeah.
Which, listen, I like the Sanderson. I've met him. He's a cool guy. Mistborn ain't his best series. You can just read the Stormlight Archive.
but there's so many other books.
Now, Casey Hudson, who kicked off the Anthem creation process, he had just come off of the Mass Effect trilogy.
Yes.
So yes, I mean, well, you almost kind of have to go a bit back if you want to understand like the story of Anthem. So Jeff kind of hinted at it. EA in 2016 announced their EA Worldwide Studio program. And so the EA Worldwide Studios would be BioWare Studios, EA Mobile, and oft-forgotten developer named Maxis. That's right, kids. There was a brief period of time when Maxis was actually a division of BioWare. And they were head by the co-founder of DICE, Patrick Soderlund, which will factor into some of the issues that are going to crop up that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, part of this initiative of like making worldwide, as Jeff talked about, was that BioWare broke up into multiple divisions. At one point, they were going to make Command and Conquer. They had another spooky kind of action game that they did a teaser trailer for that never came to fruition. I forget the name of which. They were making a lot of different projects, but essentially BioWare was kept together with whatever the next Mass Effect game was and whatever the next Dragon Age game was. Now, the co-founder of DICE is leading the company in all of these divisions. So the mandate for all of these projects was you have to use the Frostbite engine. Doesn't matter that this was designed for a first-person shooter game. You got to use this Frostbite engine. And so BioWare, having, its roots in making its own engines from scratch, i.e., the Aurora engine and like Infinity engines, had some issues. Those issues led to a game called Mass Effect Andromeda. And the circumstances of what exactly happened to Mass Effect Andromeda are many and varied. But no matter where you look at it, EA basically put the entire Mass Effect series on hiatus. Like, it was actually, they put a mandate or a message to all divisions of their worldwide initiative that Mass Effect was frozen. I believe BioWare Montreal went from being a leading development team to a support team, and then they later merged it into another studio. I'm forgetting. Motive.
EA
yeah.
Motive.
EA Motive. And so that was kind of the first shredding of this.
I'm going to be that guy just for a moment. Inquisition was also Frostbite. So
it was.
That initiative got started, earlier than 2016.
No.
I was
the
at
worldwide
Inquisition was 2014.
The worldwide initiative was 2016, where they started to kind of merge people into these
but the
subdivisions.
The Frostbite mandate came in the early 2010s.
Yeah,
Okay.
2012,
Like-
2013, somewhere in there.
Because before that, Mass Effect was the
It's
Unreal
UE3,
engine.
right?
Yeah, it was UE3. Dragon Age was on basically whatever the last hacked together remnants of the Aurora engine were that they had updated and changed into its own thing.
Was Dragon Age 2 on that, or was it on UE3?
Oh, it had to have been on the same tech base as the first game. They made it in a year.
So this Frostbite mandate is quite literally just a money move, too, if it's not abundantly clear. It was an in-house game creation tool set engine device by which, if EA was making, and by EA, like everything EA owned, could kludge their games to sort of fit into Frostbite, it would save them N dollars a year that were going to Epic licensing Unreal Engine, which is probably like the majority of what people were using to develop 3D games on, I guess, the last 2 or 3 generations of consoles, really. I don't know what the licensing fees were at the scale EA operates. I imagine that was like a considerable amount of money. And it's also what people learned on and were familiar with. So, I don't know, it's like walking into, a mechanics tool chest and just replacing all of their hammers with screwdrivers and being like, we think these are going to work better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not popular.
And it's it's weird, Jeff, because BioWare wasn't the only company that had problems with this. The first couple Maddens on Frostbite,
Bro, they were rough.
They
were rough. I mean,
I get the impression from people who give a shit about Madden that Madden is bad and busted every year.
No, I mean, it's important to point out that needing to switch to the Frostbite engine basically is one of the main reasons why NBA Live, EA's NBA game, just crashed and burned and lost all of its market share to 2K, is because that engine was very much not designed for a sports game, and switching to that engine was rough. And those games were busted. The T-posing videos and all of that stuff. Like they pulled that game, that NBA Live game, after basically sending out for reviews. Like they just knew that
live,
it was
or
not.
Was that Elite?
That was live.
It NBA Live 17?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, also the Need for Speed series was heavily damaged by this as well.
But anyways, so there's already like cracks that things are not working well in the land of BioWare. Like that game, now it's come to me, is Shadow Realms, that episodic 4 versus 1 online action role-playing game, was revealed in 2014. And then 2015, BioWare Austin announced that it had been discontinued. Casey Hudson left. And then Casey Hudson,
my work has been done,
came back. And then Chris Wynn and Chris Scheffler, both of whom had pretty big roles in Mass Effect Andromeda, left like late 2015, 2016, early 2016. And the studio, and this is something that Schreider talks about, like the studio was bleeding talent left and right, all while it was kind of like, okay, this is our passion project. This is the thing. This is the big thing we want to work on, Anthem. And the names that usually come up in terms of like who was spearheading Anthem was Drew Karpfin.
Yep, yep.
I
that's how you pronounce it.
He was
Yeah.
gone before that.
Huh?
I thought he was gone before that.
No, he worked on. So he was on. I'm talking about when they first announced Anthem in 2017. He was on stage, and he was the Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 guy. And then Aaron Flynn, the general manager, left. Then Hudson returned. Then the lead story developer, Mike Laidlaw, left after Hudson came back. Then James Olin left. And then Laidlaw
David Gator left.
And then Hudson left in 2020. So about a year after, or no, the same year that Legendary Edition came out. So it's just this revolving door of like these big names, like people who had been in the company for over 10 years. Like Laidlaw had been there since the goddamn Baldur's Gate days. And he's also had some not great things to say about, they relocated the staff to work on Anthem. He was working on the Dragon Age Dreadwolf when basically the word got out that Anthem was all hands on deck. All divisions are working on Anthem. This is the thing. This is the next big project. And
also, it's on fire, and we need you to stop working on whatever prototypes you are for this, unannounced small-scale Dragon Age game to fix this.
Yeah, so Anthem.
So what
a reflection
takeaways
of all of that?
Like, what is? I think we've kind of talked about. Hey, this game's development was a mess. You can read the Schreier article. I think.
What are your main takeaways though that you want to just think about or discuss?
The big takeaway was that this game was in one form of development or another for like 7 years, and it did not enter full production until the last 18 months of that, because they had no idea what they wanted to make outside of, I don't know, sci-fi, multiplayer, co-op?
Now, I'm going to be that guy and say, to be generous to BioWare, these sorts of games can sometimes get away with that. People forget, but Warframe launched with one map. One essential, like one key environment, and everybody was talking about how they were sick and tired.
Warframe launched in 2014.
But still, this is kind of the model for this type of like online always cooperative space shooter. Like every single Destiny game has had an incredibly problematic launch, 1 and 2. And so you can I'm not excusing the crunch. I'm not excusing the dysfunction. I'm saying that going full speed ahead and hoping that everything works is not unheard of for this crease of action role-playing shooty shoot game.
I'm going to be that guy and say that the takeaway has to be the 5 years of pre-production hell that Anthem was stuck in. Like during their prototype phase, when they're just trying to figure out what the game was, you had Destiny, The Division, Warframe all come out, and even sequels to Destiny. And when did The Division 2 come out? Probably before Anthem.
Pre-pandemic.
I mean, the modern Ubisoft online shooter had basically been perfected by this point. So I think that's a fair point to say that, like, they had so many templates they could have used rather than think they needed to make things whole cloth by this point. Like, they didn't have to work this hard for 5 years.
Well, but the thing is, when they first started, this wasn't a template yet. And then by the time they entered into full production, it was an established, solved template. So there's nowhere that they knew how to go from there other than adding in the Iron Man suit.
Something that I feel like the Schreier article didn't talk about, and I've been thinking about this. Do you think that they picked this type of game or this type of action role-playing game because they thought, okay, well, we have to work on the Frostbite engine. Let's make a game that actually uses guns, because that's probably going to be easier for us.
I mean, they probably had the idea before that Frostbite initiative came down. If this is 2012, 2013, when, they first began pre-production. And when they're saying, hey, let's make this big multiplayer thing. So they're probably on like the leading edge of that whole genre of loot shooter, like at first. But then they just got stuck, probably because of like bad prototyping with Frostbite, the constant changeover in the creative team.
And Mass Effect has now been put on frozen status. You can't touch this. You have to do something that's not Mass Effect.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the other teams in BioWare were having a hard time with that Dragon Age 3, and then the Andromeda team was also in their own pre-production hell for so long.
Yeah, and like I said, they had a bunch of products that they were supposed to be making and supposed to be developing that just never came forward. That Command & Conquer game hired John Van Cannigan to come out of retirement, essentially, to make a Command & Conquer game. And then we never saw it.
And then they canned it.
And then, they put Shadow Realms was BioWare Austin, and then they canned that. And I think they closed Austin, or is Austin still?
No, BioWare Austin was the Old Republic studio.
The last good BioWare game. But no, like if they had done the full speed ahead thing, they would have made the game in like 3 years. It would have come out 2015, right after Destiny. or around the same time as Division, and then they could have had like that same cycle as those games.
Yeah, and see, that's the weirdest thing is that I can imagine a world where Anthem is a thing and not this boring, sloppy mess. I can imagine a world where Anthem is still not in dire straits that we saw, but I don't know, man.
It came out 4 years too late.
It did. It really did. Like by this point, like what audiences did they really genuinely think that they were going to poach? Because at this point, like Destiny had completely shit the bed. Destiny 2, that is. And the Warframe community was massive. Like who are you poaching? Who are you going to poach?
I mean, it seems like at that point they just wanted to get out the door.
It just came out too freaking late. Like during the pandemic, my peer group from college latched on to the Division 2 for some reason and wound up playing. I played like 40 hours of the Division 2 with them online and played through the whole like campaign thing of that game, which is the most I've played of one of these. I say that as if this is kind of a phenotype. I guess it kind of is. I'm going to generously call these all podcast games. By generous, I mean glibly, because they are a thing to do while a podcast is on, or the podcast, which is you and your friends talking wise to each other on voice chat. The Division 2 post-dates Destiny 2 by some time, I'm pretty sure, and basically any oxygen that was left after Division 2 that didn't for some reason wind up in the Division, I think probably gets eaten by the steady growth of your PUBGs and that Rainbow Six Siege and your...
Yeah. Have you heard about this game? It's called Fortnite.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. The Division 2 came out like a month after Anthem.
Perfect. They're damn near interchangeable in some just gameplay loop ways.
I mean, Division 2 is a much better video game than Anthem.
I would agree. There's stuff to do there's stuff to do in Anthem, but like the thing that this game really needed was tail and some runway after it came out to put the rest of the game in, basically. And what exists of Anthem now, if you go try to play it today, is what happens when you
don't get the tail.
Yeah, it's weird to call this game unfinished because there are a lot of games that sort of feel like the term unfinished gets kind of thrown around a little slapdash. It's just like, no, this is just kind of a poor product, or this is what was scoped. Anthem is kind of an exception because it just feels genuinely undone.
Yeah, and I think that that's the reason why, if we were to do our GO2Y podcast, I think that Anthem is a ringer for most disappointing game. We went into this expecting a mess. We went into this expecting chaos. We went into this expecting something interesting and really weird. And what we got was a depression factory.
We got bad Destiny.
I mean, some weird stuff did happen.
We played a game, let's be honest, gentlemen, that's kind of boring. Not kind of boring. It is boring. Like the loot cycles are not properly balanced. The character classes have customization, but it's not quite there. The side quests are really, really basic, and there's a lot of world building, mythologizing, lore construction, lore Bible. There's a lore Bible, and then it doesn't really lead to anything. And to go back to a point that Jeff and Borgmaster were making, I think that when Ubisoft releases a Division 2 and whatever the sequel to the Division is, I think it's Heartland, when those games come out and, you get to the end of that loop and you have to basically hope and pray that the promises that more is coming will come, Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment have earned the trust by their audience that, yes, more is coming because they've done it before. And what I've heard is that with Anthem, when people reached the end of Anthem, which we will talk about, people had zero faith that it was coming. And in fact, the reports that, EA was thinking of like pulling the plug were pretty much well reported by this point. And so you get this game that, never really had a chance. Like, honestly, EA probably looked at it from a pure suits looking at a spreadsheet thing. Oh, it's got all of the stuff that we want. It's got in-game currencies that you can exchange for real-world money. Oh, it's online. Oh, you're going to support it. Great. And then, when it doesn't meet the quota of sales or online user base, they pushed it to the side. That's why all of these promises that more was coming didn't really happen.
They prototyped Anthem Next, and a team was working on it, and it was presented around. I think there are some screenshots floating where they made the UI look more like the Destiny UI, which is a special kind of hell we don't have time to get into.
So, and
but they canned it.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, is that there's a little bit of Square Enix in what EA said, but they had a target of 6 million copies by the end of March. And Anthem actually was the second best-selling game recorded for a BioWare game, only behind Mass Effect 3. So it actually did, kind of like the Sega Saturn, Jeff and Borgmaster, it did very well at launch, and then it just completely tail dived. And so, yeah, I mean, they reiterated how Anthem was not working as planned, and that BioWare was going to support the game all the way until 2019, like late 2019. And instead, the plug got pulled.
For the business stuff, you need to also consider that the whole Battlefront 2 fiasco happened mid-development in Anthem.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever monetization they had been thinking of, got redesigned multiple times, just as that business, that kind of business evolved.
So I actually found something where it was by the CFO of EA, where he says, "Oh yeah, no worries about Anthem failing to meet our expectation in terms of overall sales. We have full confidence that microtransactions will fill the void." And then that happened, and so they ended up not doing that. Although we did find the microtransactions in the game, and they're very
active.
Weird and out of
They're
place.
very bare bones. Very bare bones.
It's they didn't even do it well, because there's not multiple currencies. There's essentially only one currency, which you can get in world, but in minute quantities. But
no, there's also a second one.
There's a premium currency.
Right. There's the premium currency. I'm sorry, but there's two.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So listen, in the current version of Call of Duty, I could pay $20 to play as Alucard from the hit anime series Hellsing. And then I could also play $20 to get a shotgun that looks and sounds like the Doom 2 Super Shotgun. And that, to me, is the ideal form of microtransaction hell. And what Anthem has is slightly dumber-looking robot suits.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been doing a lot of talking around this game and have not actually spoken about our experiences playing it.
Yeah.
We just want to walk through the story.
We also probably need to talk about what it is.
So Anthem is a third-person shooter where you are a jetpack Iron Man dude, and it's your job to shoot things in the head with an assault rifle, and then sometimes press left bumper or right bumper to shoot lasers and shit, or throw a shuriken grenade.
Pop off
at very stupid enemies that will spawn into the world. Sometimes you need to stand in a place. Sometimes you need to bring a thing to a place. Sometimes you need to bring a thing to a place, but you can't fly while doing it.
And sometimes they disable your ability to fly.
There are two enemy factions, both of which are humanoids with guns.
There are three factions, really.
They're also
the Outlaws.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, three factions of humanoid enemies with guns.
Yeah. Well,
then the vroom vroom flying is good.
It's all the
flying is good.
But also there's a heat meter, so you can't do it forever, because why would you want the player to do the thing that you've based your game around? Why would you want them to do your
It is a loot based action role playing game, meaning that
loot?
In theory.
Get loot. You also are pseudo locked into your first choice. So there are different classes. There's the
4
ranger
robot types.
who is the
There's-
shooter gun
yeah.
machine gun person and is the all-arounder. There's
Yes,
the
Ranger,
Colossus, who's the
human
largest and-
fighter.
but most big shieldy thing. There's the Interceptor, which is the speedster and likes to do melees, and then there's the Storm, which is the magician.
Wizard.
So what did we all pick?
I was a ranger.
I was
I
a
was-
Storm. I was
I
a
the
space wizard.
Interceptor.
I was a Colossus.
We each tried the different classes, so my feeling is much like Destiny, which I feel like has maybe a similar problem, although that feels intentional in that game's case. There's not a huge difference between these different character types.
That said, once you pick your choice, there really is very little reason for you to explore the other things because all your experience, all your resources are going into a different class rather than min-maxery. And then I guess the big thing that, like the big elephant in the room, is the fact that you can break the leveling system and the economy pretty quickly because
Before, yeah,
the
So
game
that might be
gives you
intentional.
yeah,
the game gives you a certain allotment of coinage, and you can spend those coins on
blueprints.
blueprints and new kind of like little bonuses, and all of that stuff is like level 60 to level 50 if you do it from the start, and the level cap is 30, and
So,
all of the stuff
yeah,
in the story
CP,
missions
how do
are
you
30
feel
to 15.
about an arbitrary number that is tied to nothing but is meant
What's gear
to
score?
gate difficulty? Yeah, a score for your gear.
The
You
numbers
hear
would
about
go up.
this?
So for us playing it in 2023, it was weird because I guess at some point after everything fell apart, they just made end game gear like available in the shops for very cheap.
That is
They
the
can access
feeling
from the
of it.
beginning.
Dude,
Yes.
There's probably like an article that would tell us the date of that I did not look up.
The in-game messages, it's celebrating its 1-year anniversary, and also the Christmas event stuff is still up in the hub.
Well, no, I mean that the Halloween stuff was had triggered in the town area while we were
Ooh.
playing it. That's where all the skulls and fog came from.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels like a zombie game almost.
Yeah. So you can play this single player or cooperative. I did this a number of ways. We initially played this cooperatively with me and Braden, and then eventually with Jeff.
Hi.
Gentlemen, how would you describe this as a cooperative experience in a shared world where you can progress the story and do free matches?
Well, Chris Zombie Pie Redacted, let me tell you. You like Anthem. You like Destiny,
No.
I mean.
Oh,
Not really.
I don't know.
What if that, but shit?
Yeah, what if the matchmaking for Destiny
What
was-
if, so this is one of those things where Bungie, like, for as much as Destiny launched as a fucking tire fire, and, you know, Destiny has been some level of tire fire on and off for its entire, 8-year existence at this point, Bungie has experience making online multiplayer games.
Mhm.
BioWare does not. They had their, surprisingly successful, surprisingly good Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. They tried to replicate that with Dragon Age and Andromeda, didn't quite work. But they are a single-player RPG studio, mostly. The 3 people in that company who, have the Neverwinter Nights servers on. I have to assume they all work at Beamdog now, or used to work at Beamdog. So basic shit like getting into a party, meeting up with other players, having your progress carry over when playing with your friends. These are all things that Anthem does not do very well.
Not
And
only that,
need
Or
we
at all.
forget,
At
need we
all.
forget, that when that game launched in February of 2019, it was unplayable for a large chunk of people for several months. Just server issues constantly.
So the first problem that kind of graced me, and I decided to play a little bit of Destiny 2, is the menu system for just setting things up, like selecting a mission, or it's clunky. it's bad. Like in Destiny, it's like, okay, I want to do this exact quest line. I want to do this raid. I'm going to invite my friends. Done. Boom, boom, boom. With Anthem, you have to double check the map that you've clicked a mission, or you have to select free play. Then you need to go to a different slide to go through maybe one of the worst friend invite systems I've ever seen. And part of this might be the EA Play app's fault, where you have to like invite people to your EA Play account before you can have them play with you with games. That aside, we have to talk about the fact how like you don't match progress with the story. So I looked this up, and what it is and what happened is that I was playing initially with Braden, and we were playing a game, and then Braden's game crashed. I continued on with the mission, and then I think, Braden, did you come back, or did I finish the mission?
I came back.
You
finished
back.
The mission, and I came back.
Okay, and then we did a second mission, and then it was a different mission, and my game crashed at the victory screen. So we were doing our poses, and my guy was doing the finger guns, and then he just froze. And then the game just didn't know how to stop having him do his finger gun.
Yeah.
And then Control-Alt-Deleted, and then stopped that.
And then we kept playing for a little bit. Yeah.
And then I realized I was not getting achievements. And then we got to this weird tomb thing, which we have to talk about. And I wasn't able to go in the tombs because you only
did not count
match progress if you are doing a cooperative mission in tandem with your partners. Otherwise,
so only the host gets the progress.
Only the host gets the progress. If you are not matched to the host in terms of your position in the story, all you get is loot.
Yeah, I had a less bad scenarios when I played with y'all where you were like 2 quests ahead of me, so I did those quests with you, then had to go and redo them again.
It's baffling, just absurd that this problem that is essentially solved in this genre, right, is the way that it is.
I think part of the problem might be the weight they place on their own narrative. They want you to see the narrative flow from beginning to end in the right order.
But it's not good enough to warrant that.
It's not.
Oh, God. We need to talk about this game's narrative because it's nothing.
Yeah.
There's so much of it.
Here's the thing. So this is the other thing where it's like, how did you not learn from like all of the other games that were coming out? Because like one of the things that I appreciated when I was trying out Destiny is like when I wanted to play with a couple of friends, and it's like, okay, let's play this mission. Let's check these things out. Let's do this raid. Like I didn't have to worry about the person that I was playing with being stuck in a dialogue sequence for 5 to 7 minutes. Like there were multiple times when I was playing with Jeff. It's like, hey, Jeff, come on, let's go. And it's like, nah, sorry, man, I'm watching a cutscene and it's going to probably take 7 minutes.
Yeah. In my defense, it was the only time I was ever going to see him.
But why would you do that?
Yeah.
They have some story sequences that go on for so long. There's like a good 15-minute sequence.
All of these cutscenes, all of these story attractions, and they all look very expensive.
Yeah, they don't look bad.
According to the Schreier, that was because they were so scarred by the Andromeda "my face is tired" memes that they're like, we got to make it unmemeable. But imagine the galaxy brain level of smarts that has you doing these mo-capped cutscenes, like these very expensive produced cutscenes for a game that you ostensibly have to make regular content for on a yearly basis.
I will say to someone's defense, the actors they had doing the mocap apparently had just one take to do it almost, and they did really well. The actors,
yeah, the voice acting is good. Like it's
like the
good
mocap
voice acting.
Yeah.
The mocap is good, and it's fine. The problem is there's so much of it, and it's so empty. Like how many times did Halleck like do his I'm a big gruff guy that can't tell that it's time for me to retire. I need to rely on you rather than myself. Like how many times did we get that speech from him or that sense from him?
Like those characters are so poorly sketched. It's incredible.
It's not just that they're poorly sketched. We've seen these characters before. They're not doing something new.
They feel like sketches of characters.
Yeah.
They feel like, hey, guess what? Destiny 1 got away with barely having a story or characters at launch, so we can do the same thing. Oh, whoops, we're BioWare. So people expect story and characters. And thus, we lead to the central contradiction behind this video game. Is this game a Destiny or is it a BioWare? It does not know which.
It is a Destiny that had a BioWare style like the expectation here is be like Destiny, right? What they I guess failed to advertise loudly enough to casual fans of the studio that made Mass Effect is this is going to be one of those. And what you're left with is all these kind of pastiches of characters and this empty feeling world, which is functionally a town that is basically one alley, one sort of T-shaped, cross-shaped alley with a robot at the end of it and a cave down one side with like 5 people standing in it who grunt about the Anthem of Creation every once in a while.
Well, I think you saw like half the town. There's like another half to it.
Yeah, there was supposed to be another half to the town.
There's a bar.
There's a
bar. There's a street.
But that's the other weird thing is like you can already tell that this was not supposed to be it because there's multiple mentions of other towns that are also like surrounding Fort Tharsis, which is where we're at. And it's like you have all these characters talk about that, and then nothing happens.
All right, so Fort Tarsis is the northernmost outpost of Bastion, which is some kind of kingdom, like almost like the Holy Roman Empire, loose kingdom collection thing of different city-states and whatnot. And there's a bunch of other cities and city-states and people going on in Bastion. To the south of you, to the north, you have the Evil Empire Dominion, and then all the bug people and whatnot. And there's supposed to be this whole big world they're supposed to be able to go to with different biomes. You know, there's grasslands, tundra, lava lands, all that. That you're never going to see.
No.
I'd be curious to see, like years and years after the fact that I forget the name of the writer. There was a text document that came out that was like, here's what Half-Life 3 was basically intended to be. I would be curious to see that, but for Anthem, if it ever existed.
The other Laidlaw.
Not
the other Mark Laidlaw?
That sounds right. I think
Mike Laidlaw is BioWare Laidlaw. Mark Laidlaw is Valve Laidlaw. It's very confusing. I've confused them multiple times.
Laidlaw.
It's like there's 2 Jeff Grubbs.
The world building, the lore, all that stuff in this game feels like the setting for a MMO.
Yes.
That they never made. It's
Yes.
almost like a Kingdom of Amalur situation.
A very broad tapestry into which things may be, in theory, easily dropped in, to flesh out this world, to give you, because
someone has a world Bible somewhere.
Yes, very easy to imagine.
Well, there is a lore Bible. This game does have a codex, and it is packed. This thing is packed with stuff. And there's also like weird trinkets and like journal entries for you to pick up while you're exploring the world. And it's talking about all the characters and these NPCs that you may or may not have seen. And it's just a lot of flotsam. It's a lot of bath.
Yeah, there's a lot of fluff of just characters being like, oh, it's day 220 of this expedition. I sure hope we don't get murdered by bugs. And then they get murdered by bugs. But as far as like the actual like world building, like what is this world, what are the different factions, the different towns, how does this stuff work, there's almost none of that in the core text.
It's all
which is their
floating
codex.
mythical, like, once again, sub-Destiny bullshit where
Like,
it's just it's space mysticism.
Like when you compare that to the codices in Mass Effect and Dragon Age, where it's telling you like the detailed biology of the different species.
Yeah,
and then you
they're
don't
even voiced.
and like you don't even know what the Scar really are, other than I don't know, bugs with guns.
Well, they're bugs with guns that have been corrupted by the Anthem, and they're a reflection of humanity because
what's
of the anger
Anthem?
of humanity. That's
The
a great
Anthem
question.
is like the Force and the like from Star Wars and Chaos from like Warhammer mixed together.
That's the other thing is like this game right from the rip hits you with so many proper nouns and just terminology
It's
that
a veritable Final Fantasy 13 of proper nouns.
so you learn
Do you wanna talk
about
about the beginning of the game.
Injected
anthem.
directly
Yeah,
up your rectum.
I will happily talk about the anthem. We're in meteor res. We're going into this horrible storm thing.
The Heart of
That's-
Rage.
The Heart of Rage, and there's the cenotaph at the center of the Heart of Rage, and bad things are coming out of the cenotaph or the core of the planet.
Like there's some like apocalyptic like monster generation happening here.
Dang. It's like the Forge in KOTOR. It's making bad stuff, and you got to stop it from making bad stuff.
And they send in like 20 guys to go stop it, and you're one of those 20 guys.
You're a rookie. You're with a team of people who are veterans, and they promise to protect you with this mission to stop the bad stuff from coming from this portal. Unfortunately, things do not go according to plan. But your partner and you, Halleck is the other pilot that was supposed to guide you through this experience.
Like Halleck was the squad leader, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other two members of the squad just eat it almost immediately.
Halleck says to let him die. You don't let him die. And then it smash cuts to black, mission failure. And then now the person in your ear is a British McBritish man.
It's 2 years later.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
2 years later, freelancers, which are the dumb name for you're a mech pilot, but I guess you do odd jobs. It's like, oh, people don't respect the freelancers anymore. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure in this rough and wild frontier outpost, I think people still need people with robot suits to do things, to stand in circles and shoot bugs in the head.
Pick
But you
things
see,
up that
people don't
prevent
respect
from
you,
flying.
and now this extremely British man, who I can only describe as like a half goblin child of Stephen Merchant.
Yeah, I was going to say, he sounds like, I guess, a merchant who was in Portal 2.
Yeah,
Yeah, he sounds like
Stefan
that.
Mercant.
And
A Wheatley-esque character.
He's just
Yes,
like,
sir.
"Oi, what's up, governor? Blood pudding."
I gotta
So,
say,
this
the
is-
note that this guy plays, I am pretty allergic to at this point in my life too.
He's quirky.
Yeah, and he parks right there in Quirky, and he calls you every once in a while from his car and says, "Hey, I'm still in Quirky," and it.
Oh, it gets worse.
Yeah, I know. I heard some mid game stuff too because I jumped in spoilers to a mid game mission with these guys, and he kept on going. Ugh.
I mean, do we want to walk through the story? Because
I mean, we're
that goes
basically
places.
doing that. So
Okay.
here's the thing. Like the first thing was like, wait, what's going on? Like, so there are you are the mech suit guy, and there's a person in your ear talking to you. Those are the ciphers. The ciphers basically have to hook themselves into like a matrix thing in order to see what you see and be able to like listen to radios, I guess.
So,
It's
from what
space
I
magic.
looked up, they are like biotics in Mass Effect, where they are more attuned to the anthem than everyone else. So they get like Ember, which I guess is the magic rocks, like injected in them or something, so they can listen to the anthem better. And they can put it in those
Okay.
machines so they can like talk into your head and basically.
So they are important people, and only a select few people get to be ciphers or can be ciphers. There's the Faye. There's Faye, the lady, your friend with Halleck, and then there's also Owen. Yet Owen really wants to be in the mech suit, which is going to tie into things that we learn
He's
about
like,
him later.
"Oi, I really
Wouldn't it
want
be
a
cool
pilot.
if I was
Oi.
also in the mech suit? And
What
so
if I was a javelin pilot?" By the way, they're
The-
called javelins. It's very
the
stupid.
mech suits are javelins. And so for the first part of the story, you go to Fort Tarsus. You're doing odds and ends jobs. You basically get tapped by an agent of the government. Corvus is the government? Or the
Corvus
secret
is
agents?
Corvus is like the CIA agency
Okay.
that the lady belongs to.
Lady belongs to this agency, and the agency is interested in your experience with the Heart of
Rage.
Rage, and then also has heard mysterious reports of badness coming up. And it turns out that the bad news is the Dominion, who are
An evil empire.
An evil empire from the past.
No, it's just in the north.
They're in the north, but they were defeated by the current empire because Lady defended the city from them. We got that whole Yarrow. Yarrow is like a freelancer, but he's retired. He talks about stories a whole bunch. He's Russian, by the way. And so there's an evil empire. Yeah. They're led by big bad evil man in black mech suit. You see him twice, and the game makes a big deal about it. Every time you see him, I might remind you, you see him like twice.
2.5.
And he wants to take the cenotaph to do his evil wills, right?
And there are two other main quest givers for the different factions. So there's Old Man, who is like the freelancer guy, and he's voiced by the guy who voices your dad in Fire Emblem Three Houses. And he's just like, yeah, robot suits. And then for the cops, there's a fun, quirky the Sentinels. Yeah, there's a fun, quirky lady who is on the spectrum, and it's one of those things where you can tell someone at BioWare was like, we're going to do some positive representation. And so, as a result, this woman...
They've been so bad at doing this.
I mean, it's a typical anime social anxiety character.
Yeah, it's a step up from Mass Effect 2 Overlord DLC.
It's better than Sandal.
It's better than Sandal, but this woman literally introduces herself by being like, I don't like to be around people or make eye contact. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. This is the level of intelligence we're going with. And then there's like a mystic monk scholar guy.
I mean, there's like a crazy monk scholar guy, and who's the most fun of the three.
He's probably the most fun. Yeah. Like the one time when it's like, Anthem's actually trying to do something kind of creative, although the whole plot twist being, we split your personalities into stuff. It's like, wait, no, I've seen this before. We've done this.
Yeah, he gets split into, I guess, like a Freudian triad, which that's fun.
You ever seen Multiplicity?
Yeah, but anyways, so
but none of it matters.
The structure of the game is there's a main story, and then there are faction missions, and the faction missions sometimes tie in the main story. But generally speaking, if you go the main story, you're getting closer. The first half is just basically reconnecting with your old team from when you failed to defeat the Heart of Rage, so Halleck and Faye. And then when you go to Halleck and Faye, you find them in this weird kingdom queen lady who feels like she should be a bigger picture in the story, but she's not. She's
like a bandit queen.
She's a bandit queen, and that's the only scene where we see her.
It's okay. Surely we're going to see more of her in the inevitable expansion.
Yeah.
And the worst part is she's the most fun character in the game.
Yeah, she's a fun character. That scene where she's forcing Halleck to eat crazy food to prove that he's not full of crap is actually kind of fun.
And then you run into... That scene goes
on way too long, but yes, I liked it.
You run into what is the most infamous part of this game, which is the part where the game developers were like, oh shit, we don't have enough content ready, so let's make the player do multiple hours worth of open world filler quests in order to pad out the run length so they won't finish it that quickly.
All right,
these are the...
Do you mind if I explain that part?
Quests.
Yes, the tombs.
So about midway through the story, they decide you need to go find this ancient javelin armor from the person that Fort Tarsus is named after. And to do that, you need to open these 4 tombs. Open the 4 tombs. You have to do some random like open world world quest nonsense for like 5 hours.
Yep. Now, this is another thing that I feel like Destiny just does immediately better. Even The Division does immediately better. Goddamn, even Rainbow Six Siege does better, where when you click the mission, it says, you must go open the tomb. And then all it says is, open the tomb, when you go to your mission log in the menu. It doesn't tell you what you need to do to open the tomb. You have to walk all the way back to the tomb to interact with the door.
Here's the thing. You can know. It's buried in the cortex.
I found that, but here's the other problem. It says certain things like get a maximum combo or resurrect 4 javelins. It gives you very generalized bullet pointed information. It does not tell you in granular details what exactly all that stuff did. Might I
That is
remind
true.
you, you were stuck
I was stuck.
trying to figure out what the combo was.
Yeah, no, there's nothing in the Cortex saying what a chain combo is. I had to go research online extensively to figure it out. And it turns out all the weapons and equipment you can have little symbols next to them, either a circle or like a star. So you have to use the circle symbol equipment or weapons on something, and then immediately use the like a star symbol equipment or weapon in order to do a combo. It's very dumb.
In theory, it does a decent job of giving you an idea of like what are the special abilities that you need to use, because some of those requirements of opening up these treasure chests, you need to do them. And this is where I feel like I really understood, I really like my wizard dude, because I'm just going to pop off fire spells and just murder everything.
This is around the time that Jeff and I said, no, fuck this.
Yeah.
And
Cowards.
stopped playing. And meanwhile, you two sick jerks.
Borgmaster and I, we're stronger than you two.
No.
Yeah, we got good.
Yeah, your self-flagellation prowess is unmatched.
Really,
You
should hate yourself more, is what should happen. Anyway.
With these thorns, I am cleansed.
The further story missions are basically the same thing. You get your first kind of mini boss when you work with Dax. There's a dude, and this was actually kind of cool. There's a dude at the end of Dax's mission who is a
You should explain who Dax is.
Dax is a sentinel that has been forced into the Sentinels because she is a princess, and because this is a BioWare game, she's a princess with a sense of independence, and her father doesn't like that. So she goes to the scholar. She's forced into the impressment of the scholars.
Not the scholars, the cops.
Yeah, the cops, to teach her some manners. And so she's still trying to find her aunt, who has disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The thing that she believes has the key to finding her aunt is been stolen by this guy. And this leads to, like I said, that mini boss where it's a guy in a suit of armor and he has this impenetrable shield, and you have to disable 4 generators in order to finally be able to do damage to him. I'm like, oh, finally, a boss in this game that's kind of like the Destiny, where it's not just a big version of something that I've already seen before. It's not like the Titans, where it's just a biggened version of these abominations, or a harder version of those bug things, or a harder versions of those will-o'-the-wisps. It's an actual boss thing, and it goes real quick because those generators aren't that hard to destroy. I don't know about all of you. I died once, and it was with Borgmaster when we were fighting the final boss.
Oh, yeah, that final boss had a weird move that just insta-killed both of us.
But I don't know about Jeff and Braden, but I did not die other than that one time.
Yeah, I don't recall dying at any point. I mean, I was playing the big clogging around heavy dude equivalent, which...
How did that feel?
I mean, so here's the thing. I don't know if you were to sit and measure our, like, straight line speeds between classes, how much slower it actually was. It's probably, like a small but measurable difference, I'd guess. The real difference is the animation speeds, right? It's not that things necessarily take longer, it's that they look like they take longer. That's just inherently less cool and satisfying to watch this, like, God, I'm about to reference a Marvel thing, and it makes me want to just rip my face off. But the guy who was Iron Man has, like, the Hulk suit he puts on to fight
the
Hulk.
Hulkbuster armor.
Yes. It feels like moving around in that, basically. I don't know. Versus, like, in almost every circumstance, I would play your squarely fast class over the slow plotting dude, with the possible exception of the heavy Team Fortress 2, because I'm broken. So I don't know. I would not recommend playing as the large heavy class. I also found the ults on that class to be kind of boring. So yeah, are the
ults interesting on any classes? Because the Ranger ults.
Jeff, I played the fast squirrely class, and the ult in that is just you can melee forever.
Yeah, because the Ranger ult is just like homing missiles.
For me, it was go into your ultimate form and just rain fire, lightning, ice spells and murder everything in the AoE. It was kind of cool.
So they're all just some kind of screen clear.
So the mission with Dax culminates with you going into this actually really cool, probably one of my favorite levels. I don't know how Borgmaster feels, where you're going into like this spaceship-looking interior environment where it has a very H.R. Geiger vibe to it, and you're trying to unlock a portal. And this is the part where you two, I hate the fact that Jeff did not experience this, and also Braden did not experience this enough.
That puzzle sucks.
So the fillers are puzzles, and the puzzles are matching symbols on spinnable devices. And the symbols that you need to match to are oftentimes placed in the foreground and background to where you have to adjust the camera to find and see them. Or in the case to this one, to unlock Dax's aunt, you have to switch laser beams to match magical light.
There's basically rotating symbols on the wall, and you have to shoot a laser at the right time on different layers of the spinning circles to match.
You have to
a
do
line
kind
of
of
symbols.
the like spinning thing to where it's like, this is like two spires or Buddhist tapestries where you have to spin them until the right symbol is on there. It's bad. The puzzles are bad. They put them in here probably because they didn't know what else to put.
Those Matthias missions get very egregious.
Not only the Matthias missions, but there are also the weird pressure plate based stuff that are even worse.
That's the world event stuff where, like, I guess there's two symbols that show up above a terminal, and you have to go find pressure plates nearby to have those symbols, but you have like 40 seconds to do so. It's really bad.
Dax's whole thing is that her aunt is back. She was in a bubble of some sort,
like a pocket dimension.
A pocket dimension where time slowed down. She's been gone for like 10 years, but she's back now. And then she comes back and her memory's all messed up. She develops like space Alzheimer's or something.
Like she saw the past, present, and future like all together.
And this is where we get our first hint about what this game would have been in the future. She's like, "Oh, you are going to fight this. You are the key to fighting an ultimate evil. And if you fail, it is the end of the world." And it's like, "Oh, so you're talking about that big guy in the dark armor that was the Dominion?" No, not him. He's not even close.
It's an ancient evil that we reawaken and have to defeat.
Anyways, so that's Dax's mission. Matthias's mission. So his missions are a complete pain in the ass because they have those same puzzles, and it's a lot of like hold the position, prevent these bugs from letting you fill up the meter while you're in this position for a while. Matthias is powering up a scanner, but then the dividend that the payoff is that you use this ancient device and it splits Matthias into 3 people, and now you've got 3 Matthiases.
Matthias.
You meet the lesbian bartender lady.
She's fun.
She's also a different faction that you don't ever experience.
Like these Star Wars smuggler scoundrel type of faction.
Yeah, there's a scoundrel faction that you just learn in passing when you talk to her, but you never actually come into contact with. She keeps saying, "You're going to owe me a mission for all these favors I'm doing for you," and then nothing comes of it. You also, when you reconvene with Faye and Halleck, there's only one javelin. There's a special javelin that's supposed to survive the Heart of Rage, and it's General Tharsis's legendary Javelin of Dawn. And you go to her tomb, this is where we have the first puzzles, and then you have to do a gauntlet mission where, similar to Destiny's raids, you have to like touch 3 orbs, and each of them puts you into a combat arena that you must survive. The first one is fine. It's just a fight against a Titan. The second one is maybe, other than the tombs, one of my least favorite parts of the game. It is you reenacting a battle from General Tharsis's past, and it is the longest hold the position until you kill enough enemies, then move to the next position. And you have to do that, Borg, like 3 times?
It's like
4 times.
It's like 5 times. You're on a staircase and you're just going up the staircase, holding positions until you get to the top. It takes like 15, 20 minutes.
So imagine the hold the position side quest, but it's 5 parts, and each part is 5 to 7 minutes long.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's very tedious.
So I'm not going to do that.
But the good news is, Jeff, that the third task you go up to and it's like, "I don't know if I could do this. I don't know. Oh, no." And then you click and it's like, "Haha, this task was to show that you have purity of heart. You have been helping your friends. Therefore, you pass. There's nothing else to do. Take my armor.
The third trial was the friends we made along the way.
The third trial literally is the friends you made along the way.
Or we didn't have enough time to implement what the third trial was going to be.
Yeah,
oh,
you're
God.
Get out of this. You go up to the Javelin of Dawn. You go up to this legendary suit of armor, and you're about to put it on when
British McBritish boy who has been being annoying and in your ear for the last, let's say, 10 hours of video game.
Yeah, like he's your handler.
He betray
almost.
you.
Oh my goodness.
Owen
And he
betrays
steal the MacGuffin.
you. But then it turns out that the MacGuffin wasn't actually the MacGuffin. It was the sigil we picked up when we first got into the tomb. And then we can make our own Javelin of Dawn by giving our dude a shield that uses the signet.
Like the special part of the javelin that made it good for the Heart of Rage was just some like add-on to it. So you just have to go make your own after that.
And then
And
what
that
you get
requires doing
is
faction missions.
more faction missions. You have to do enough of the faction missions to get resources that can build this shield for you. And nice thing that I can say about the faction mission is their faction missions are generally shorter than the story missions because they're much more basic. You can also talk to characters and NPCs while you're in between missions, which I did to a certain extent. Like, there's some good to decent voice acting in this game, but I didn't give a shit about, like, Prospero trying to sell you on decals are important, man. Decals are so important.
Do you want to talk about the choice system?
Oh, right, the choice system. So whenever you talk to a character, you can...
Sometimes
I love BioWare
Sometimes.
games for their deep choices and consequences.
Mhm.
You basically sometimes get like an either or response option.
Sometimes there's a blue response. Sometimes there's a red response.
No, they're both the same color in this.
But
Yeah.
what if they were the same color in this?
And
What if you could be slightly
so
mean
this
or
is
slightly
where
nice?
Borgmaster and I challenged ourselves. There is a lady who is convinced that you are her son, and her
Her dead
son is
son.
dead. Her
Her
son
very
is
dead
very
son.
dead. And I said, you know what, Borg, I want you to do this. I'm going to be the nice guy, and I want you to be the asshole. And so
Okay.
the choice is basically, do you pretend to be her son, or do you tell her you're not her son? And guess what, guys? It doesn't matter. You get the same result regardless of what you pick.
You sure do.
That's really nuts.
So I'm here.
That's
I
really
am
nuts.
pretending to be her son. Like, oh, can you get me some eggs? I want to make your favorite dinner dish. Blah 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 blah.
And then I told her that I wasn't her son, and she said, "Oh, you have a terrible sense of humor."
Let me buy those eggs that I want to make your favorite dinner. It's 4 pieces. All of these interactions you have with these NPCs, no matter how you respond to them, give you the same exact result. No matter
It's
what. So why
heartbreaking.
are they there?
It's heartbreaking to see that.
Like
in a
when I
BioWare
was
game.
interacting with the lady who's obsessed with animals, that's played by Kristen Shaw, who is
the
Louise from
shopkeeper.
Bob's Burgers.
The shopkeeper lady.
Yeah. Like, I can be nice to her, like, yeah, you should follow your dreams in trying to catch animals. If you just tell her, nah, you're an idiot, she's like, oh, I'm going to prove you wrong and do it anyways.
And then like there's that other freelancer who's like way into Sexy Danger. I
Yeah.
forget her name. Like that plays out the same way because she like owes the mob some money or something.
So the choices don't matter. They're completely irrelevant. They're there because BioWare felt like they had to have a little bit of BioWare DNA here, but it's like the worst version of that because there's no consequences to any of these choices. There's also like hints of like developing these relationships, but there's no romance, which honestly I didn't hate because I think that BioWare's romance or approach to romance is terrible.
Yeah, that's like the one silver lining of the
There's no
half-assed writing.
There's no half-assed like, all relationships lead to sex, right? Sex is the culmination of a relationship, the codification of it. It's not official until you bone.
Heavy risk, but the prize.
Yes, we all know PB from Andromeda. Yes.
Just
Hey guys, remember you can force us to play Mass Effect Andromeda. Anyway,
50
so
patrons. We're very close to Ultimate 9.
eventually you get strung across all of these missions feel free to chime in, Borgmaster, to build this Shield of Dawn, which is basically a facsimile of the suit of armor, and then
I mean, it's an add-on basically. It's this little thing that you bolt onto your armor that gives you, I guess, an overshield for the Heart of Rage, and you just need to build one of those by doing some faction missions, and that's all that is.
Yeah, and Tayson's all up in your business saying, "Why are you so slow?"
Tayson's the CIA lady.
I'm gonna send my entire army into the heart. So is that the Monitor, who's the name of the evil guy running the evil empire? So is that he doesn't get this cenotaph and use it for ill wills?
So the Monitor isn't the one running the evil empire. He's like a general in the evil empire.
No, right.
Who's, like,
we don't
come
actually
south.
know who the emperor is because that was supposed to come later.
Well, there's this big cutscene in the middle of the game showing how the Heart of Rage got created. That was kind of just out of place. Like,
yeah, but
showing
it's
the
so
fall of Freemark.
incoherent.
It's very incoherent. But I guess the Dominion attacked the city called Freemark because the cenotaph was underneath it. Then they go activate it, and it just destroys everything, kills everyone. And that's how the Heart of Rage happened. And I guess some refugees from Freemark are in Fort Tarsus that you talk to. It's a bit incoherent.
But here's my problem: is they talk about this as being like a thing in the past, and then there are people who are like, were alive during that time, still alive.
So it was like within the last 10 years?
It was like 10 years ago.
10 years ago, but like they speak of it like it's a legend.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's
what we call good writing.
So it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's
when
a
I
weird,
think about
incoherent
things that
scene.
happened 10 years ago in 2013, I'm like, yes.
The times of, I mean, whatever.
The time before.
I
bought
times.
a PlayStation 3.
It does slightly feel like
cheap
that with the plague.
On Amazon.
So you go to, I forget why you go to a place after you assemble your shield.
Well, it doesn't work, and you suspect that there's something that you need to take from. No, wait. Remember, Faye tells Halleck, "You need to get out of your mech suit. You can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You're not good enough." And Halleck's like, "Screw you! I'm gonna find Owen. I'm gonna take the shield from him, and that's gonna fix the broken stuff." And then you have to chase after Halleck. Halleck gets his ass kicked by Owen, but then, guys, we get Owen's redemption arc.
The strangest cutscene I've ever seen in my life.
Owen apologizes for his betrayal because apparently the Monitor did lead an army into the Heart of Rage, and it failed. And to punish Owen, he seared off his eyes. What? So he's now blind, but using his connection with the Anthem, he can still see, and he's sorry. He realizes that he's betrayed his friends, and he's very, very sorry.
And he also explains why he betrayed you. Apparently, the bad guy said he was going to destroy Fort Tarsus unless Owen helped him. I didn't believe that. It's all very weird. Because it's the kind of cutscene where you think like, oh, there's gonna be a boss fight against Owen because he's in this big legendary armor. You know, Halleck got the crap beat out of him. But then you just talk about it. You just talk it through for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then he just gives you the thing.
It's an almost 10-minute cutscene.
And he just gives you the thing and it leaves.
He says, "I'll meet you in the east." Another hint that
the east or the west or wherever, you know, he's going to leave.
And then this is the part where Borgmaster and I tried to engage the end of the game, and it was a mess. It was maybe the most busted thing I've encountered in this game, other than when it crashed.
I'm excited to hear
it. It was incredible. It was incredible.
So set the table.
The game broke for you very badly.
It's both of us. Very badly.
Both of us. So first off, we decided, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we relied on the matchmaking to force us to play together rather than actually doing friends? Because we had made the prediction there are probably so few people playing the end of the game that if we just relied on the matchmaking, it's going to match us together. And we were correct.
Only 2 people on Earth playing these missions at that time.
We were the only 2 people playing these back half games. But then, remember, Borgmaster, there was a time when I got a warning that said the servers were full.
The server was full for you. I think this is before that. This is like the day before when you're doing the mid-game missions.
I was doing mid-game missions, and it says, "Oh, we're sorry, the servers are at capacity." And it's like, who's fucking playing this game?
Weird.
The server is probably just a computer tower in a closet.
Missions, remember, you can only play them for 90 minutes, and then it boots you from the server.
What? Oh, really?
Yeah, free play. You can only stay in the free play server for like 90 minutes, and then it boots you out.
I didn't realize that. Oh, that's terrible.
Anyways, so we're trying to get through these missions, and I forget what's the part that breaks. I don't.
All right, so I'm trying to remember.
It was the cutscene leading up to the final mission.
Right, the cutscene.
It was the cutscene?
We had to watch that cutscene like 3 times.
All right, yeah. So there's a point of no return. That's not really a point of no return. Right before the final mission, where Halleck and Faye are like standing next to your launch area, and you have to talk to them to get into the mission launch menu. So you do that. It brings up the menu, and you can't select anything but the final mission, in theory. So you do that. So you select it, go into matchmaking, and then you're supposed to match into that mission. So something bugged out for us, if I recall correctly, where we both did that at the same time. We like synchronized it, and it matched us into a faction mission instead of the final mission together. And then we did the faction mission. It booted us out to the hub area, and then for both of us, when we tried to go back into the mission select by talking to Halleck and Faye again, going through the whole cutscene, we couldn't select any missions. Or like you could only select your open faction missions, and I couldn't select any missions whatsoever. Like completely busted. Could not do anything.
But what we could do was click the button, click the prompt to initiate the point of no return, and watch that cutscene in perpetuity.
Like 4 times I had to skip that cutscene. Like
What?
Then for whatever reason, Borgmaster saw it on the upper left-hand portion of his map, and then I was able to do it. We click start final mission, we get spawned into it, and then there's another guy playing the final mission. It was great.
Oh yes, our good buddy Li Wei Ming, who we could not have done the mission without.
Yeah, because we all died.
Hero.
So yeah, this is the one time in the game where there's an actual true final boss. There's an actual multi-phase boss where the monitor syncs up with the cenotaph and basically becomes this giant hulking monster thing.
A giant titan, basically.
Yeah, and
so it's a 4-phase boss fight. Each phase takes place in a different arena.
It's the first level of the game, the lava level from the very beginning of the game. And it's phase 1 or 2 where he just basically drops a meteor, and if you're on the ground, you automatically die.
That's phase 1, I believe. So the weird thing is, I think each phase corresponds to like one of the different elements you could have on your weapons. So phase 1 is the fire phase. That's when he just meteors you and you die instantly, unless you know what you're doing, like our buddy who revived us. And then by the time we got to the 3rd phase, I don't know what you saw, but for me, it looked like there was like a sequence skip that the guy we're playing with did, where we just skipped the 4th phase entirely. And it went to the end of cutscene.
Hey, I'll take it. I'm happy. We didn't have to play the final phase of that battle. I'm okay with that.
But the thing is, our gear score was like twice what it would be had we gone through the proper leveling instead of just buying those level 60 weapons. So the actual fights were taking seconds for each stage. So it wasn't a difficult boss fight. It was just annoying.
And guess what? You can use the same techniques that you've been using up to this point to beat this boss. And that's the other thing is like even Destiny forces you to try different techniques or different weapons or different loadouts to beat certain or specific encounters. You can't just use the same thing over and over again. This is even something that like Rainbow Six Siege and like the Ubisoft games force you to do. Is like you have to approach this differently. You have to think about a strategy. And then in this, you can do the same thing.
Also, this is the only boss fight in the main story that has like its own special health bar.
Yeah, it has a special health bar.
Which I'll get to that later. But anyway, the last cutscene.
So Halleck is all bloodied. He's all like, we did it together. We're a real team. And then Faye basically does a mind meld with the cenotaph.
Yeah, she goes to turn off the cenotaph and acts like it's a big sacrifice moment, but then it isn't.
Yeah, you have this feeling like, no, Faye, don't do it, because up to this point you've been thinking or you've been told that like if you mess around with the cenotaph, you're gonna die. And so we think this is the end of Faye, and then it isn't.
Like she just turns it off and it's fine. It's just fine, actually.
That's the end. That's the end. But then there's a late credit scene where we find
out
at
Fort Tarsus.
Back at Fort Tarsus.
where like there's like everyone's celebrating, everyone's happy. Then the CIA lady or the Corvus lady comes up to you and says, "Hey, I have to show you something." Takes you into a room with her boss, who, and this is the first time you ever see him. He's fully, voice acted, fully mocapped, all that. First cutscene he's in. They show you like the corpse of some alien guy and say the Urgoth are back, and then that's the end.
Smash cut to black.
If you have
credits
Urgot in
play.
your grain, that's no good.
But it's a literal, here's the next villain, guys. Smash cut to black, credits.
I thought the Urquan Masters was a Toys for Bob thing.
Yeah, Urquan Masters, fantastic game.
All right, so
we should play Star Patrol 2.
Listen up. So the Urgoth were a different species on the same planet who had enslaved humans like 500 years earlier. And General Tarsus was the one who led the rebellion against them and freed the humans. And the Urgoth kind of just left after that. They were gone for a while. And this game takes place in 468 LV, which is Legion Victorious, is their naming convention for the years. So that's 468 years after Tarsus threw out the Urgoth. So showing you an Urgoth body right after you beat the game, saying, "Hey, guess what? The old, ancient enemy is back, and we have to fight them again."
An ancient evil has returned?
An ancient evil has returned because I guess the Dominion were fighting the Urgoth because they're like more north, so they're fighting whatever remnant is even further north than that. And they're getting their butts kicked, and that's why the bad guy wanted the cenotaph, was because I guess.
So maybe he was
Empire.
a well-intentioned extremist, Jeff and Braden. Maybe they were just trying to do the extremism to fight back the ultimate evil in the corners of the planet.
So they leave these threads dangling, and they're never getting wrapped up.
No. That said, there is post-game content. We must mention, because
there sure is.
I streamed this game, and I put out a thing like, "Oh my God, the Anthem community is in my chat," because I had 5 of them. They made it very clear to me that there is post-game content, and I checked it, and it's all these faction missions that don't further the plot twist with the Urgoth. It's just, oh, would you really like to do the same like 2 to 3 mission types that you did with Yarrow, where you got to pick up and save some freelancers and honor their graves, and now he'll tell you a couple more stories.
And like the Sentinel and Matthias quest lines, whatever kind of story that was leading to keeps going.
I kind of like the aunt with Dax and like, kind of learning more about how she really is kind of messed up in the head. That was fine. There's a weird scene with Faye where you like, I don't know if they were trying. I always assumed that Halleck and Faye were in a relationship, but apparently they're just friends, because you have this like moment with Faye on a ledge next to a fountain where that's the only time that location is used.
Yes, it is. So that balcony area, that's right before the final mission. And yeah, there's a side alley off from like the Fountain Street area and the town hub where nothing happens. There's nothing there. You go up some stairs. There's like a little alley. Nothing happens there except that one cutscene.
So it's a really good game. But yeah, it also, hey guys, remember when we opened those tombs and there were like sarcophagi and you had to like find something or do something to open those sarcophagi? That's the post-game content. What if you wanted to open those sarcophagi to get legendary equipment for your characters?
I mean,
and there's also the Path of the Legionnaire. There's a guy in the town who will tell you, stories about the ancient times.
They're boring. Oh my God, they're boring.
And then you have to go and do like 100 like world events and 25 raids or whatever.
Yeah, it's like 25 raids. Like it's something. World like events are. So this is the one thing that the Anthem fans had explained to me is like this is the part of the thing that keeps them coming back is there is some sort of cross-platform rivalry. It's like, yeah, right now, 3 out of the 5 the Xbox community has, and the other 2 are the PC community. Like, so there are these stronghold missions where you basically are pitted up based by platform.
So do you want to know about the stronghold missions? I did one of them. Did you do any of them?
I did one. I also did a daily.
Ooh.
I would say that the daily, weekly, and monthly communities are maybe the most active part of the game because no one's interacting with the story missions anymore.
And so the strongholds, I just want to mention the strongholds a minute. They're basically like the raids, but you can do them by yourself if you really want to. They're just bigger versions of the kinds of side quests or the open world events you were doing, but each one has a unique big boss fight at the end, with like the boss fight bar and different stages and their own mechanics and all of that. So the only boss fights in the game are the final boss and then these raid bosses, and there's like 4 of them.
So yeah, if you only mainline the story, you're only going to encounter it once. These unique encounters, these unique mechanics, these unique
Jeff,
puzzly bosses.
Jeff, how are you doing? This cage we left in this mine.
Yeah.
Both of these canaries are dead. What do you think that means?
I mean, I should probably reinstall this game. It's probably safe.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I mean, if ZP liked it, clearly. Chris.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
Yes.
So I played 24 hours of Anthem.
I played 10.
Borgmaster,
And
how
I
much
regret that much.
did your total get to at this point?
What is my total? I am at 23 and a half hours.
I played 24 hours.
You win.
I understand Anthem. I understand what the plan was. You can kind of see where they were going. And I still do believe that if they had actually done Anthem next, they probably could have turned this game around. I think they could have turned this game around. And I know I sound crazy saying
I think
that.
that's a fair thing to say. I do think there is an alternate timeline where they salvaged this game and we weren't talking about it. Because to be frank, we're not talking about Destiny and the number of times Bungie has broken and unbroken.
Destiny 2?
Destiny 2. Bungieware.
The Traveler. Travelers, is that what it's called? The big orb?
The orb.
Yeah, the orb.
The darkness. They fear the light. You as the guardian have the light.
They should make a Darkness 3.
Nolan North is the little robot.
Oh, man. So did I have fun? Borgmaster, did we have fun in our efforts to actually finish Anthem?
I mean, not in a good way.
I mean, I can say that I've completed the story of Anthem.
Like, it's a badge of honor making it through that game.
Saying you've completed the story of Anthem is like saying you've watched all of Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill.
It's not that bad.
It's not.
Yeah, I think this is the
Jack
weird
and
thing.
Jill is only 90 minutes.
It might have been better conducive for me to finish this game if I had played it on an Xbox, just because I think having the achievements for Anthem would be very funny. Just to be able to point and be like, no, like, look, I've got them all. An obscene thing.
Yeah.
There's something transgressive about playing through Anthem because it is such a dead game. Like, it died a tragic death.
Well,
and you still go play it.
Yeah.
It's like exploring a graveyard.
Yeah.
It's like a ruined building.
I mean, when we were doing some of those early and mid-game missions, like, we only got like one other person playing with us. And then when we did the free play missions, which we thought would have not a thriving community, but a more active community, we met like 4 or 5 people tops.
I saw 5 or 6 people total in my 23 hours of the game.
And this is a game that if you are a PC game, not even the full Game Pass, but the $10 SKU that you can still buy that will get you Game Pass games on a Windows computer, that gets you into the EA Play package. I think that's what they're calling it. It's at least what they were. Anthem is bundled in there. To wit, you could buy a $1 practice subscription to this thing and play the entirety of this game for $0. So for the low price of $1, you could get in and dip your toe in this.
Jeff,
and so
do you know what other third-person, endlessly repeatable action game you could play for free that has a decade's worth of content? Called Warframe.
Warframe's the main one.
It's free.
Okay, but then it'd be a weird Warframe person. And they all creep me out.
Listen, all of those robot suits in Warframe might have...
They have good asses.
They have dump truck asses, but people seem to like that game. I don't know. Every time I see it, it's like, wait, what? They added a space shooter? There's a fake Elder Scrolls fantasy RPG in this now?
When you think about EA as a company and the fact that they don't like to keep games active past like the 5-year mark, right? Like, think about all of the servers for Madden that they shut down pretty regularly. I ended up looking this up. Like, what are the games that EA plans to shut down this year before the end of 2023? And here's the list. Tiger Woods PGA Tour 14, Tiger Woods PGA Tour 15, Restaurant Dash Gordon Ramsay, NHL 19, so that's 2 to 3 years ago, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, multiplayer servers, not the main game, FIFA 18, 19, 20, 21, that's them trying to get away from the FIFA license, Dead Space 2, Dante's Inferno, Crysis 3, Battlefield 1943, Battlefield Bad Company, and Battlefield Bad Company 2.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of games.
Go play
and
Bad
EA,
Company 2 online right now, by the way.
EA looks at their servants like, yeah, this is making us money. Shut it down. Like, I am amazed that Anthem... I truly wonder if there are people interacting with its systems enough to justify the server still being up. Because if people aren't buying the game, they're relying on Game Pass, then really it's the microtransactions that you're relying on other than like the royalty fee that you get from Game Pass. But,
so that leads to a question. I think it's the really the only question I've had for anyone about Anthem, because I think it's the only question that matters, because it's the one that troubles me, and I've basically woke up in the middle of the night and was wondering after my time with the game. Are people spending money in this game still? Like, really? Like, think about
the rotate.
Think about the possibility that this game is generating like recurring revenue.
Like, I appreciate that ZP streaming the game led to us discovering the secret underground society of mole people who still play this game.
There are 5 human beings playing the game. They spend $20 a month each.
And they
that
all
game
came
brings
to
in
me.
$100 a month.
They're still charging $40 for the premium edition so that you can get the Legion of Dawn armor set. And so some of the weird like pre-release and like game launch special armor sets have still not come back. They were timed exclusives when the game first launched. So like they had a weird thing where like the special armor was in rotation. And people have been wondering, like, when's this one going to come back? And it's like, why do you care about the armor in Anthem?
Considering they'll let you just go buy the end game stuff, like, right out the gate now.
Well, I mean, but no, those are the functional weapons. Or
those
this
are
all
the functional weapons.
Yeah, like all the money stuff is cosmetic.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah, the cosmetic stuff that requires those red crystal things.
So we didn't bring up the launch bay because it's easy to forget about the launch bay. But that's supposed to be their social hub that they tacked on at the last minute, where you actually can get into a lobby with people and show off your javelins. Which, considering the awful-looking javelins ZP and I made, there is something to that.
They do let you shit up a javelin pretty good. They really do. Like, my weird neon yellow and green and pink device that I was flying around in was quite the little number. And by little, I mean big.
I was like, what if I did red and black? That's a fun color combination. It's like Shadow the Hedgehog. It's tactical. And you monsters are just like, here's bright purple and green.
Hey, that was ZP that did that.
I missed the assignment.
I went for the beat-up dumpster aesthetic. And I think I achieved that pretty well.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I don't think the robot suits look cool enough to want to buy skins for them.
No.
This game is nearing 5 years. I think it gets to 5 years. I think that it's February of this year or next year, 2024. But I don't know. When I interacted with those Anthem fans, they're like, yeah, they're not going to replace this game until the next big thing comes around that's like this. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, I really respect the fact that you've gravitated and fallen in love with this game. I truly do. But I would be shocked if this lasts more than one more year.
So I have a conspiracy theory. I think that the server infrastructure for this has been pared down so much that it's fallen through the cracks at the high level at EA. Like the suits forget it's there, and that's why it's still on.
Someone set up like a precision T7400 in a closet somewhere that just lives on that.
Exactly. There's like one AWS shard that someone has squirreled away that's running this server.
And it just says Frostbite on it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's important. Yeah, we gotta leave that on." Yeah.
Or does the game just exist as like a symbolic sin eater for BioWare? They just pour all of their anger and hatred into it.
I mean, they probably
as long
fired.
As it lives.
They probably fired like the 5 people at BioWare who had the password for like the AWS instance that this runs on.
At this point, they may well have.
So like,
No,
it's that short story, with the child that lives in the basement and everyone in the village is happy, and that child in the basement is Anthem.
Yeah,
I remember middle school English.
Is it time to rank this?
You psychos with this ranking.
No, it's legal. It's a very good, very
bit.ly/OTDE rank.
The ranking, capital the, as in the Simple series for the PlayStation.
Yeah, the Simple 2000.
Yeah.
Top 3, bottom 3, top 3, bottom 3.
The top game, my favorite Simple 1500 game is Volume 56, The Sniper, easily. Probably followed by number 14. I think number 14 is the Block Kazushi.
Which one's the one where there's a giant woman?
Oh, God. I don't remember what volume is. One of those volumes is just Ray Crisis and not Ray Tracers, but that is Ray Tracers, isn't it?
It's One Chambara.
It's those 2 Taito shooters on one
The first
disc.
EDF.
The first EDF. Anyway, our top 3 games on our list, which has nothing to do... I think there's probably a couple RPGs in that series, but they aren't here off the deep end. The top 3. Third place, Xenosaga Episode 1, Derville Zermacht. Number 2, Suikoden. Number 1, our favorite RPG, Might and Magic 6, The Mandate of Heaven. At the bottom, narrowly missing the bottom 3, Towers, Lord, Banff's Deceit. You can check out our last episode for that guy. We have Secret of the Stars, Aiden Chronicles the First Mage, and at the very bottom, Unlimited Saga by Square.
I just want to point out that you're all deranged in the head for Virtual Highlight not being in the bottom 4.
Virtual Highlight's funny.
I think it's largely as high as it is because my brain is broken and I see something in that game. I see
Virtual
something.
Highlight is the icon of bad game design.
Virtual Highlight is pure Kuso, though. It's like the beautiful platonic ideal of what Kusoge can be.
I don't get motion sick from games, and that game makes me
I can see why it would. The thing is, Secret of the Stars is so bad because it was
even bad.
Yeah, like in addition to just being incompetent in some ways, it's fundamentally kind of busted because there's this two-party thing.
Two-party system.
They don't interact. They block each other's progress on the map as you switch between. Like it's really wild how amateurish that game is. Aiden Chronicles is just dull in ways that are hard to really explain.
Unlimited Saga is even more incoherent than Virtual Highlight.
Unlimited Saga is an unthinking, unfeeling machine that does not care about you.
So I have a proposal for Anthem.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is funny. I don't actually think that it will be. It deserves to be this high. Let's start at Jade Empire.
Okay.
This is also the newest game y'all have on here, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Yes. Elex 2.
Elex 2 is new.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Elex 2 is notable for having a Billy Idol concert in it.
So, is this better than Jade Empire?
Well, yeah, as you just heard me say, no Billy Idol concert in this, so kind of has to go lower. No. The movement in this game is good enough to get it above several things on this list, including Jade Empire. And that's the tragedy of Anthem. It's not, great, but I think if just ignoring everything else, the chatting with my mates while flying around and shooting things with zero
I
investment.
hated the chatting. Like, the chatter is the worst part of this game. Like, just
No,
this
like-
empty dialogue.
I'm talking
No, as
about
in
talking
talking
to you,
to us.
bitch.
Having a pint with the lads and playing some Anthem in it.
I mean, I guess I know how you really feel about me now, so...
No, so
Pound
here's
sand.
what I'd say about that, Jeff. There are so many games like this that do that better
Yeah,
with less irritating radio chatter.
there is quite a lot of chatter. Those
Um,
cutscenes do take forever.
So I think the basic movement and shooting in this game is like totally competent, but I think fundamentally this game cannot exist in a vacuum whereas, you know, other games on this list are self-contained cohesive things. This was a game that is meant to be played by you, you know, over a period of time with regular updates. And I think it fundamentally fails on that angle. And I think the product that exists, the product called Anthem, that you can download and play on your personal computer, is nothing. It is a void.
But is it better than Tower of Jiraga?
Yeah.
So it goes below Jade Empire.
Jade Empire is, you know, an Orientalist garbage game that barely controls like anything because it was their first action game, and you can tell. But Jade Empire is both shorter than Anthem and has more going on.
Okay. I don't really like the idea of grouping these two together, but to be honest, I would probably still play Anthem over Elix 2. I just wish there was I wish I could not do that because I don't want to put the BioWare things next to each other. I don't want them to kiss. I really don't want them to kiss. But
Then how about you put Anthem above Jade Empire? Let's say like next to Zelda 2.
No.
Yeah,
No,
we're gonna-
absolutely not.
I think we're gonna get split 2 and 2 on that because if
Okay,
I were ranking this game and I could just ignore it, all of you bozos, I would probably stick it right somewhere on either side of Quest 64. I'm torn which, honestly. Yeah, that's where it would go. I don't want to put
it would go above
that.
Quest 64.
Yeah, it's better than Quest 64.
Yeah. Yes. Just for the movement.
Isn't just for the movement? Isn't it also better than Legacy of the Wizard?
Legacy of the Wizard has
I-
Yuzo Koshiro music.
Yeah, I admire Legacy of the Wizard. Look, it's it's one of those like, oh, that'd be fun to go, and then you go play it. It's just like, God, this is hours
like
of wandering
Sokoban?
around in a maze. Yeah, just 15 hours of maze and wandering all the way back to swap out my man to go play with another person. But if y'all want it below Jade Empire, that's fine.
I defer to you two.
I just have a hard time saying Elix 2 is a better game than this, having played Elix 2.
I'd rather play Elex 2, but I'm sick.
ZP.
I think I would rather. Like, yeah, like it really is. Would I rather play Jade Empire or Anthem? And I don't want to play both, and that's the problem. And it's now I have to kind of play in I'd have to do this mental gymnastics of like, well, which do I not want to play less? And I don't know. Like I don't like the Orientalism of Jade Empire.
Yep.
But I feel like Anthem didn't respect my time, and it had so little to offer, like even less to offer narratively. Like there are memorable characters in Jade Empire.
You can have a threesome in that game.
Yeah.
Okay, how do we feel about this game vis-a-vis SNK's hit RPG, The Super Spy?
The Super Spy.
The Super Spy.
The Super Spy. I think I enjoyed the Super Spy more than Anthem.
I think I enjoyed the Super Spy more than Anthem.
The Super Spy.
So
Borgmaster,
and
are
in
you
that
familiar
case-
with The Super Spy?
No, I'm not. That's why I went on mute.
It's a fine
are you familiar with
first-person
Jade Empire?
thing.
Yes.
What would you put this?
I mean, I probably need to go back and play Jade Empire. It didn't seem as monstrous as you make it out to be when I played it like 9 years ago. So I'd have to defer on that. I mean, my gut is that Jade Empire should be a little bit higher on this list than it is. But I would
We
say
are noted Jade Empire haters over here.
yeah, I do need to go back and play that just to see like where the like horrible ultra racist stuff is. But I mean, Jade Empire is better than Anthem. Tower of Jiraga is probably worse than Anthem. I don't have much experience with the 3 games in the middle.
The GBA version of Lord of the Rings: The Third Age is like a shitty tactics thing.
It's like non-functional even.
That's okay. What if we just put it between the Super Spy and the Lord of the Rings: The Third Age GBA?
I'm fine with
and then
this.
we go home.
Okay.
That seems.
I'm already home.
Well, you know what I.
Yeah, I know.
Because I would like to give the Super Spy its very meager flowers.
Haha!
Exactly.
That translation.
Exactly 1 flower. Chemical weapons arms factory, says the scientist to nobody for no reason. Like oh my god, some of the localization stuff in that game.
It's got big sprites.
It does have big old sprites. Okay,
that's all you need.
We did a ranking.
All right, we did it.
I'm gonna go ahead and say the lead platform for this was the Xbox One. Not because I think that's canonically correct, but because it feels correct. I'm gonna say this was nominated by the universe, in quotes.
I mentioned this before on the Discord, but so we have a proverbial thing that we have encased, and it was an Anthem. And then we broke the case, and then we pulled Anthem out. What goes back in the case, boys? Goes back. What do we put?
I think our patron incentives are good enough.
I think that Jeff had a pretty dark idea that I really wanted him to share.
Yeah,
right.
I definitely did. I had one, and it was so good and so dark. And I wrote it down.
You said RuneScape.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I did say that. You're right. Smart me said
Which
that.
version of RuneScape?
I don't know how to answer
There
that
are
question.
3.
I don't know what that means.
There are 3 different versions of RuneScape.
Yes. I don't know how
So
to...
you know how
original.
there's WoW Classic and WoW Regular?
Okay. I mean...
There's one snapshot of RuneScape from the early aughts. There's one from the late aughts, and there's the current.
Which one can I
updated
play on
RuneScape.
computers in my library?
Yeah.
Probably RuneScape Classic.
Then play that one.
RuneScape Classic is what my youngest brother would understand, so...
Let's put RuneScape behind the glass.
Yeah, in the unlikely event that they announce that RuneScape Classic is being discontinued.
Or when we play a game, it's like, this is boring and we also have not enough to talk about. Break the glass. Let's do RuneScape.
So there you go. That ominous
That's
threat.
a threat.
Is it RuneScape just all grinding though?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll notice
right.
we have Dragon Quest 1 on here too.
I mean, but that's a good game though. That's a classic.
It's a great grindy game. There's quite a bit of grind on here. You know, we've got, Xenosaga Episode 1, we've put pretty high on here. That is a game about the grind. You know, we got a bunch of Famicom RPGs. Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, is characterized mostly by the fact that it has grind in it, and it's bad. So yeah, what is an RPG? A miserable little pile of grind.
I dare you to play Dragon Quest VII for this.
God damn it.
I mean,
that's Jeff's kryptonite.
I have floated this idea at least once, if not a few times over the years. I loaded Dragon Quest VII onto a ultra small form factor computer somewhat recently, the PlayStation 1 version, on the off chance I wanted to farm certain accomplishments on a website that tracks old game heroics.
You should really see someone about that.
It's
If we ever played Dragon Quest VII, could I play the 3DS game?
no. Yeah, of course you can. Don't do what I'm going to do, which is play Dragon Quest VII for the PlayStation fast forward.
I remember. I'm old enough to remember when Game Informer gave Dragon Quest VII a 6 out of 10, and people lost their shit.
It might deserve it. Okay, we are going to announce another game, and then we have to stop recording because we've been in here for about 8 years. So for a game that, I'm going to be honest, I don't think deserved this long. So it is Braden's turn next time. Braden, say something that's going to scare away Borgmaster.
You nerds. How do you feel about class-changing mechanics? How do you feel about the work, the life, the times of David W. Bradley, computer role-playing rock star? How do you feel about Wizards and or Warriors?
Oh, you mean for the NES?
No, I mean for the personal computer. Wizards and Warriors.
Which personal computer? It's the 80s.
2000.
Oh.
It's a video game that came out the week after Baldur's Gate 2, so no one played it. Also, it was unrunnable on OSs more modern than Windows XP until recently.
Recently? What changed?
The GOG re-release.
Oh.
In, I believe, 2019. A better game than Anthem.
So you're to tell me that Wizards and Warriors is purchasable and playable by even as noble and honest a person as Gino Grieco. A man who cannot sin.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, but I have a question. A question from the back.
We have a question.
Does the game have Wizards and Warriors both?
Yes.
And
you can class your characters in such a way that they can be good at both wizardry and warrior.
This is extraordinarily wizardry.
But not
looking.
Wizardry TM. That's a different game that D.W. Bradley made.
Yeah, why haven't y'all ranked a wizardry game yet?
It's a great question.
We don't deserve to be happy.
I mean, you should do that. The weird, Japanese wizardry games.
Yeah, those games are.
Especially the smutty ones.
I am looking at my Wizardry Lauganim Saga copy for the Japanese Saturn right now.
We also have to watch out that some of those Japanese wizardry have, let's say, spicy anime sprites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Booba.
Those specifically you should rank.
Kazungas.
Anyways, Braden, this game, how long to beat says this game's 50 hours. That's long.
You paid 24 hours of Anthem.
This is $6. Should I wait for a sale? Okay. So
I like how one of the screen caps that they have on the GOG page is a woman that is topless and you can see her nipples.
Yeah, the forest nymph. Yeah, there's boobs in this game. That's incentive enough, right? Are you jerks ready for me to talk to you about one of the weirdest CRPGs I personally have played?
Well, I'm ready to jerk.
A failed evolutionary branch like the Neanderthal, or like the ancestors of whales that were just land canine looking things.
Hey, Braden, no matter what, I think we'll have more fun with this than Anthem.
What if I told you the way the game's combat moves is almost super hot like?
Okay. I'm in.
Something.
I'm sold.
Also, there are riddles and puzzles, and everything is fully polygonal.
Okay, I have one last question before I forcibly end this show, which is, you made a while ago a D&D alignment chart that had 9 games on it. Where was this one? Because I recall it being on there.
I believe this game was chaotic neutral.
That is easily the worst alignment. So
the least interesting one.
It is the Joss Whedon of alignments.
Oh God!
Made his whole living.
Is this where I can make jokes about the Wizards and Warriors complete series or the television show?
Not to be. Yeah, this is not. Oh, that's right. For chaotic good, I put Trails in the Sky. For neutral,
starring Jeff Conway.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Anyway,
okay.
Wizards and Warriors.
It's on GOG.
Too at home. It's on GOG. It's $6.
It's not the one in that zip file that says good NES full 4.12. There's a game in there, similar name. That's not the one you want.
It was under the working title of Swords and Sorcery before, I imagine, someone said someone else has copyrighted that. You can't use it.
And if you want to see more of what I do, you should go to fifthgengaming.blog.
I was just about to get to 5th Gen Gaming. And what is going to be next coming up on that blog, and what will you be streaming next as well?
I'm getting to the next post on the 3DO with Strawl and AD&D Slayer. I don't know if you guys have heard of that game.
I wonder who has heard of D&D Slayer, huh?
Yeah.
I wonder of us who has probably already played that game, huh?
Who among us could have played that game on stream? I don't know.
Into the vegan convention and be like, y'all read about this tofu thing? Anyway, that's it.
But yes, I will also be playing Kingsfield 3 at some point, a game that is not as good as Anthem, I will say. But yeah, check it out.
Okay, I must ask for one more little hot spoiler. Is there a single FromSoft game you are looking forward to?
Cookies and cream.
That's the safe answer. So stick around
not
for...
a Togi?
Not Kuon?
Not Echo Knight, the one that's on the moon?
Maybe Metal Wolf Chaos.
Metal Wolf Chaos.
What about game. Eternal Ring?
No.
How about the shop music in Evergrace?
I will find out when I find out.
I'm pulling the plug. Thank you for everyone who has stuck around tuning into this episode of Off the Deep End where we talk about Anthem, unfortunately. If you have questions such as, why Anthem? Why did you do this to yourselves? Why did the Wizards and Warriors game that was made in an English territory get to keep its name despite there being another game with the same name that already existed that is probably the trademark of a pretty major company? I mean, they were owned by Nintendo, for crying out loud. You can ask those questions to inquiries@deep.lol. You can also ask them on Discord, where we are. And if you're not in that Discord, getting in there is very easy. Just go to patreon.com/deeplistens. Slip us a couple of bucks. If you'd like to recommend an RPG for us to eventually get to from the slush pile, it's very easy. Just make your contribution $3 and message us. Flag us down. We will take care of it. We will put it on the pile. Maybe you'll get drawn. Maybe you won't. We've had some people languishing on the list for a while, but we get around to it. You know, we wound up ranking such random picks as, let's see. Well, I mean, Gino made us play Eternal Sonata, unfortunately. We've got Risen on here. That was a recommendation. Legacy of the Wizard.
Biomotor
Unitron. Secret of the Stars, unfortunately. So, you know, it's a fun time. It's real RPGs. They're literally every game. So, make a case. Is The Sims an RPG? Some of them probably are. Special shout-outs to the artist known as SuperSex420 for providing us with a podcast theme music, Halfway. This and other great tracks by SuperSex420 are available on Bandcamp.com while it still exists. Sigh. See you next time, and remember, there's no such thing as cheating in a single-player game. Especially this one, because it's probably going to be dead soon. And they just let you buy endgame gear right out the gate. It's very odd. What a weird thing. Bye. This episode of Off the Deep End was recorded and edited on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Nisqually or Nisqually people, who have lived on and stewarded these lands and waters since times immemorial.